Hey there, fellow story lovers. Welcome back to EzroniX Stories with yours truly, Ezron. Tonight's story is not the usual kind of love story. I once met this man on the streets. We got talking. He lived in a shelter. I don't know about now, but then he lived in a shelter. I don't remember how it started, but somehow we ended up talking about love, and what he told me struck and left a mark. And I think you'll see why when I tell you this story. And this is a story about love, about loss, about the kind of pain that never fades, that clings to the heart and echoes for years. Okay, grab that seat, lean in, it unfolds. He was 15 when he asked the question, a question no child should ever have to ask. Why do you let her do this to you? His father paused, the glass of whiskey halfway to his lips, shivered slightly. Trembling in his hand, he didn't answer, not at all, not at first. He simply turned his head, only his head, toward the boy, leaving the glass suspended mid-air, as though time itself had stopped in that gesture. It wasn't the kind of question a father expects from his son, not at 15, not there. Not in that place where silence sat heavy between them like the weight of every unspoken word they'd both swallowed for years. He could see his father thinking, not just about the question, but about the boy asking it, about whether to answer at all, whether a 15-year-old would even begin to understand the kind of pain that holds a man hostage. The boy could sense many things about his dad, things he never understood, he never got a chance to understand, things that never made any sense. And in that moment, as the man turned, he saw his father's eyes, sunken and still sinking. Eyes like deep wells of sorrow, exhausted by a dream that refused to end. Eyes swollen with tears, too proud to fall. Not in front of a boy, not in front of a boy who is just 15. A boy who would never respect him for it. A boy who didn't understand that some men cry without a sound. The whiskey, it reeked between them. It was heavy. It was sharp. It was familiar. Too familiar now for the boy. That smell was part of his father. A part of their story. It lingered like everything unhealed. The clicking of glasses from behind the counter echoed like tiny explosions. Hollow, distant, the jazz murmured in the background. His father mumbled beneath his breath. Every now and then, the barmaid poured another, then another. And every time the ice clicked, it was like something inside the man was breaking and cracking all over again. The man's hands trembled. The boy's eyes were on the glass his father was holding in his hands. He kept crossing his fingers, waiting for the moment the glass would slip out of his father's hands. The glass never did. He could see it now, the breaking, the shredding, the collapse from within. In just few years, whiskey had shrunken this man who raised him and shrunken him hollow, allowed him, reduced him to a frame of brittle bones barely hidden beneath pale skin. The mountain of a man he once called dad, he once called father, the man who used to fix everything, the man he was so proud of had disappeared one morning. And in his place had walked this caricature, a thin, trembling, tired man, still holding the same glass. The boy had to ask the question. It had haunted him. It lingered in his throat, refusing to be swallowed. Why did his father spend his days crying for a woman who had clearly stopped loving him? Why? She no longer cared. Not for him, not for love, She had taken everything, his father's savings, their savings, and left him with nothing but a bottle of a broken routine. She had kicked him out of her house, their house. And in that same house, the boy had watched other men, several men, broken men, come in and go like shadows. And more were said to come, and more were said to go. He had come to a cruel conclusion, the boy. Maybe his mother never really loved anyone. Not truly, not deeply, never cared for anyone. He sometimes felt sorry for the men he saw come to their house, who came to see her, unaware of how easily she would undo them. She lived only to keep living, nothing more. That's what the boy thought of her honestly. 2 years had passed since the day she pushed his father out. Yet like a ghost, the man had returned, every day with the same bottle in his hand, whistling to fix the boy breakfast, to mow the grass outside, to fix the screen, to fix the doors, to wash the dishes, to take the dog for a walk. He did it all, every day. He had no job anymore. He had been laid off just a few days after the mom had kicked him out of the house. Sometimes he would find strange men in the house. He would see them and say nothing, just mumble beneath himself to whatever pieces were left of his pride. And once the chores were done, he would beg, he would cry, he would mourn to have whatever was left of him back into that house, their house, her house. At first, the boy thought it was the house his father wanted back, the space, the familiarity. But he was wrong. It was more than that. His father wanted her heart, his mother's heart, or whatever remnants of it that were remaining of it. It troubled him. It burned him. It made him angry. The woman didn't care. Why did he suffer for her? Why? Why did he keep showing up? Why did he keep coming to the house to fix things, to clean things, to walk the dog? Why did he keep caring for a home that had stopped being his? The boy wanted to shake him, to yell into his ears, to scream that love should never reduce a man to this. This wasn't the man he had grown up with. Not at all. Not the man who could fix anything. The man he remembers who was his hero, who always had the right words, the answers, the strength. That man was gone. And what stood before him was now a horrifying pile of weakness, a ruin of someone who once stood all. And instead of pity, the boy felt something darker, something heavy in his chest. Disdain. He despised him more than he dared to admit. So he had to ask the question. After the silence, after the weight of the question had settled in like a fog between them, the man looked at his son once more, studied him as if weighing the boy's capacity to handle the truth. Then he turned slightly towards the counter, the glass trembling in his hand, caught mid-air, like a fragile thought. He stared blankly ahead at the bottles at the barmaid, flipping them like fading hopes. Then, as if remembering the glass in his hand, he sipped the sour content of it. He rested the glass on the table, his hand wrapped around it, as though letting go would shatter more than just the glass. He bowed his head quiet still. For a moment, too long, the boy burned inside with impatience. Then the man lifted his head finally, and with it came the tears. He no longer fought them. They came freely now. A stream running down the sunken cheeks, dry with exhaustion. He did not sob. He did not speak. He simply wept in silence. And that silence said everything. His hands began to quake. His lips trembled, fumbling for words a 15-year-old would make sense of, words that wouldn't come. The boy wanted to feel sorry for him. He really did. He thinks he did. He should have, but by then he no longer knew what it meant to feel sorry for the man sitting before him. Because to him, that man was a loser. That's what his mother always said. That's what she screamed when she came home drunk, that he was a loser, a fool for love. And when the bottle took her over, she'd rant and rage and spit his name into the floor like poison. The loser, the fool, the man who still loved her, the fool for love. She talked about him always, drunk or not, talked about him like a stain she wouldn't scrub out of her memory. And now sitting there watching the man cry quietly into his glass, the boy began to believe her. Perhaps she was right. Finally, after much effort, his lips found the words. "It's because I love her," he said. His voice was coarse, quiet, stripped of all strength. "It's because I love her," he repeated. Then he looked at the boy. "You're a boy of 15, he said. You won't understand. Perhaps one day you will." He took another sip. And just like that, the tears stopped. No more trembling, no more crying. Just, he simply kept sipping like a man finally surrendered to his own silence. His eyes glazed over, drifting into the distance. His lips moved, trying to say something, but the words wouldn't come anymore. Only the bottle did, again and again. He was lost in the haze of his own misery. The boy remembered something his father used to say back when he still had the strength to laugh and make some words. "Love's a stubborn thing," that's what he used to say. But this wasn't what he had meant. That moment was 15 years ago in the past. 15 years since his father had died of the bottle. 15 years since he met the love of his life, the woman who gave him 2 kids, the boy. And 5 years since he was last allowed near those kids, near the house, near the dog. Sometimes the boy wonders if the kids ask about him now, if they have questions like how he had questions for his dad. Sometimes he wonders if whiskey cures a broken heart. At the very least, the boy now believes it gives him sleep. And dear story lovers, that is it for today. And this is the kind of love we don't talk about enough. The kind that lingers, that breaks men, that doesn't always come with closure. He asked his father why, and years later, he found the answer. Love's a stubborn thing, and sometimes it doesn't just fade. It doesn't heal. It just hides in a bottle, in silence, in memory. And if this story left you thinking or feeling, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Share it with someone who's carried a quiet love or who needs to hear they're not alone. And if you're a reader looking for good stories to read, we have more of these stories on our EzroniX website. The link's in the description below. While you're there, please sign up for the EzroniX newsletter, because next week's story might be the one that you've just been waiting for. Otherwise, the link for our newsletter is also in the description below. So until then, keep listening, keep feeling, keep being human, and above all, remember this: every silence tells a story. Saludos.